Hey there, it's Rachel, and I can tell you that a lot of parents who come to me because they're frustrated that their kids aren't doing what they're supposed to do, they're not brushing their teeth, they're doing their homework, or getting off of their cell phones to come to the dinner table. When parents are frustrated, they say things to me like, Rachel, I know my child can do what I ask them to do, but they're just not doing it. So we become really frustrated with our kids because they are physically able to do the things that we ask. And what we're not aware of is that there's a missing piece to this puzzle. So when I say to parents, why do you think your child doesn't brush their teeth or do their homework or get off their cell phone? They'll shrug and say something like, well, they don't feel like it. And here's the thing. You're right. They're physically able to do what you ask and they don't feel like it. But what's missing is the fact that kids are not mature adults and they don't have the ability to cope effectively when they don't feel like doing something. So when they don't feel like doing it, you know what they do? They just don't do it. That's the way they cope. They don't have more sophisticated strategies. There are skills that they are missing because they are kids or because they are teens. And the part of the brain that allows us to act mature and push through things even when we don't feel like doing it, that part of the brain doesn't fully develop until we're in our mid-20s. So they don't feel like doing it is actually, it's not an excuse, but it is a reason. And until we teach them that tool, they actually aren't going to do what we ask, or they're not going to do what they don't feel like doing. And in fact, there are other skills that kids are missing that lead to the quote unquote misbehavior that we see. And these are true deficits that they have because their brains aren't fully developed. Let me give you a couple of other examples. Kids also aren't able to persist in a task that is boring. So if they have to brush their teeth or do their homework or something they do on a daily basis, even sit at the dinner table, they are actually, kids and teens are wired for stimulation, novelty, and engagement. So when there's a boring task in front of them, what happens is they may start to do that task, but they get distracted by anything that's more stimulating or engaging. They literally don't know how to not get distracted. That's why we have to nag them and remind them over and over and over. But when we teach them the tools to not get distracted, that's when their behavior changes. So another tool they're missing is the ability to transition effectively. So let's say you ask your child to get off of their device or leave a party, whatever it is they have to do. And we assume that because they're physically able to get up and walk to the dinner table or get up and walk out of the party, that they should be able to do that. But kids are missing the ability to transition effectively. So they actually struggle when you ask them to do this, and you're going to get pushback and resistance. That's a tool that they are missing. So when you see these negative behaviors, instead of thinking, how do I make them do what I want them to do? I want you to start to think, what skill or tool could they be missing? You can even think to yourself, what do I do in order to do the things I'm supposed to do, even when I don't feel like it? Chances are you're using skills that they simply don't have. And when you don't think about it this way, when you don't realize that the reason they're misbehaving is because they're missing tools, what happens is you start to think that they are being negative. And so you treat them negatively. They feel bad about themselves. And you treat them that way certainly doesn't motivate better behavior. Now, I want you to know that because they're missing certain skills doesn't mean it's an excuse for negative behavior, but it is a reason. And when you address this reason and you give them the tools to do better, that's when you see long-term change. And that's when you raise kids who really do the things they don't feel like doing. Now, in my podcast this week and in next week's episode, I'm actually teaching you the tools. This week, I'm focusing on helping kids with those transitions because they do have to transition. Next week, I'll be talking about helping kids do boring things because they do have to do boring things. So tune into the podcast called Your Parenting Long Game. You can find that on iTunes or your favorite podcast app, and you can see some of the tools that I'm talking about. If you have any questions, of course, feel free to reach out to me at rachel@rachel-bailey.com. I'll see you next time.